Hello, I'm Ray Dickey from South Carolina, CAI, Hudson Valley CAI, and Association Help Now. We are in many different states. Thank you so much for being here. HOA, the know-it-alls, and how to handle them. I think everybody knows a know-it-all. Everyone has a question feature. Please use it. We love comments. We love questions. I love having the program take a turn that the audience wants. Use it. I don't use anyone's names. Feel free to ask whatever you would like to ask. Keep in mind, though, I could make a mistake, so don't send anything too top secret. Oh, and some people already know the CEU routine. I appreciate that. If you need CEUs, use that question feature and type CEU, or write, I need CEUs, whatever you want to type. I just need to know that you're there so I could let whatever educational body we're involved with know that you were here. And I'm going to ask for this 2 more times. So you need to do it and you need to be paying attention. So once again, use that question feature. And if you're watching the recording version, you also have that same option. Use that feature. I need that for these governing bodies. Great. With that being said, I'll have our panel introduce themselves with who I see first, and that is Taylor.
Good morning. Happy to be here. I'm Taylor Hayes, and I'm with CAMS in our Columbia, South Carolina market.
All right. Christine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christine Bates. I'm the branch vice president for Associa New York, located here in the Hudson Valley area of New York. And today I do not have automatic lights that will go off.
I think you look like a newscaster today. It's so professional. I think it's your background. I do.
It definitely, I'm sure it is. I could give a weather forecast later if you're interested.
I would love it. We would like that. So maybe look that up. Okay. We need it for the whole East Coast though, and maybe Midwest. Stacey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Patterson. I serve as counsel to the law firm of Ansel, Grimm & Aaron. We represent condos, co-ops, and HOAs throughout the Hudson Valley, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
Hi, Tom. Feel free to stop by at any time you want. You know, maybe come in right in the beginning, maybe halfway through, whatever you want to do. We're here to accommodate.
We had technical difficulties again this morning. I apologize.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Tom Claus, I'm the community manager in Leisure Village, Lakewood, New Jersey.
All right. Well, thanks. I'm glad you're here. Know-it-alls and how to handle them. I have thrown some quotes in today. I hope you're going to be impressed, Stacey. Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. I think we're going to be talking about that today. How much do know-it-alls know? How much do know-it-alls know? And I think I'm going in the direction of residents and even fellow board members. Tom, I'll start with you.
It's definitely a subjective question. So, you know, you do have some know-it-alls out there that actually do know quite a bit. And then you have ones that think they know it all, right?
Oh, interesting. Very kind of positive approach. Christine.
Well, they say, you know, a jack of all trades is a master of nothing. I'm gonna leave it at that.
And Taylor, how about you? How much do know-it-alls really know? Do they typically know or don't?
I kind of liked Christine's answer to that. Is, I mean, typically they know a lot maybe about one topic, but not how it relates to everything else. But sometimes they're right on.
And what we're going to do today, Stacey, is we're going to start on the basis of why know-it-alls are the way they are. We're going to talk about how it impacts our history. And then we're going to talk about things that people can do to help alleviate. Because sometimes, Stacey, this could be a problem. This could be disruptive. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. No quote. You want me to read my quote? A wise man never knows all, but a fool knows everything.
Oh, I like that we're getting into quotes here. Very good. I love the comments.
You know, I like to prepare for these.
You do. You are a preparer. I have a board. I love the comments from the audience. Thank you. I have a board member who has been on the board for 20 years, and he is definitely a know-it-all. All things association anyway. Leave the rest to management. Everything is relative, and people are giving a thumbs up on your commentary. I don't know exactly whose because of the timing. So sorry about that. Why are know-it-alls the way they are? They overestimate their understanding of complex subjects. So this Tom would be a know-it-all that doesn't know what they're talking about, right? Do you see this?
I see that quite often. You know, you see it mostly residents in community meetings, but I get it quite a bit as they eventually do become board members at some point. You know, the real active ones at the open meetings, community meetings, are usually the ones that want some sort of change and then decide they want to run for the board. And, you know, they come in with the understanding or their self-understanding that they're going to be able to change everything because they know everything.
Christine, do you think a lot of know-it-alls maybe know, I think one of you had mentioned one thing, and all of a sudden they think they know everything?
Yeah, they may have had some experience that they like to relate to all topics across the board. You know, and to Thomas's point with the homeowners, I think a lot of these issues, they look a lot less complex from the position of being a homeowner. And so they feel as though it's easy for them to solve, and they're going to come in with their, you know, related experience and solve everything.
You know, Taylor, I'm always impressed by the manager's perspective on things because I never thought about that. Right. They don't even understand what they don't know, I guess is what we're back at. Right, Taylor?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest compliments I've received is you know what you don't know. And I think that's a really powerful position to be in. But that's not always the case when it comes to homeowners. And that could be, to Christine's point, like their experience in a different community they've lived in before in a different state.
You know, Stacy, I like to bring up this portion of the program too, so people know they're not alone. There's plenty of board members and managers out there that are dealing with a really annoying, even disruptive know-it-all. And if they hear that everyone is dealing with it, I think sometimes they handle it better. Do you agree?
Yes, there's always at least one know-it-all, I feel, in every community that I've dealt with. And what's interesting is that most know-it-alls, they speak from just thinking and their agitation and not coming from actual knowledge. And when it's interesting, when you challenge these people and say, if you're really unsatisfied with the governance of this community, you know, you have a right to run for the board. And then those know-it-alls just go full 180 and decide that they are no longer a know-it-all. They'll just go along with it because they don't want to really run for the board. They want their answers for them, and that's really it.
I actually have
I don't think they're going to get challenged.
I actually have a bunch of things that people can say later to know-it-alls that may be able to disarm them or at least get them off your back a little bit. From the audience, are know-it-alls related to scaredy cats? I don't understand that question. If you could expand on it, does anyone on the panel understand it at this point?
Kind of. I mean,
Go ahead.
like I said, they have a large bark, but their bite is weak. They can hide behind their computer, tablet, or their phone, assuming people still make phone calls or anything. But as soon as you go to call their bluff and tell them to come for a meeting or something, suddenly they're okay. They don't, there's a lot of strength that's behind the keyboard. So they are scaredy cats.
Oh, I didn't even think about the keyboard aspect. I was just thinking of like meeting people at meetings. That's a whole other thing going on here. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Most of the time they won't show up.
They have a large ego and think it all should believe them. I think you just kind of touched upon that. And I know enough to know that I don't know enough. Yep. Well, that means you're not a know-it-all then. That's great. Good for you. All right, Stacy, I see this all the time. They read one statute online and all of a sudden they're an HOA lawyer.
Now everyone's got ChatGPT and they think that that's their lawyer. But what's interesting about these AI features is that you have to understand, and there are caveats at the bottom of each of these, these new websites saying, you better check. We can't guarantee that it's going to be 100% right. I mean, the law changes literally daily. You don't know what cases are coming down at the time. So you can't be sure that you know it all. Oh my God, how many times are we going to say that today?
A lot. All right, and we have like so many programs on AI coming out right now. I have like 3 of them in the works, so you want to be super careful. They watched a YouTube video about insurance or the law or management, Taylor, and now they want to challenge the professionals. Have you seen this,
I mean,
You ask.
so-
Taylor?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. It does happen. And I think, again, as the management side, just remain confident in what you know and relaying that message. And, ask the person challenging you to provide more information. I mean, plenty of times they'll say, this is what the CCNR say or what the law says. And I said, oh, like, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Send me a copy of where it says that, please.
You mean that AI isn't my lawyer? Darn it, says the audience. I think in my experience, oh, now we're getting into it. How exciting. I think in my experience, the CPAs are the hardest to deal with as treasurers. Most of the time, HOA financials are done differently, cash basis, accrual basis. They are usually not open to learning because they know it all. Christine, I think we're going to find common themes here. What do you think?
Yes, that I think that point really hits home for all of us. Oftentimes, you'll see somebody on the board that has a lot of financial experience, whether they're a CPA, retired, in some type of financial industry, and unfortunately, their experience is not fully relatable to the HOA financials because there's a lot of things that are different. However, they think they know it all. And they try to interpret this to the board, and it does nothing but create, mass, miscommunication. And, then we have to figure out how we're going to retrain this person on the HOA financials. So it could be a difficult situation.
I wish we had a CPA on the panel so we could have fun with it, but we don't. So we're not going to pick on CPAs. The cats are people that are afraid of fee increases, and that board and management are stealing and mismanaging association money. And they are also afraid of being targeted. So that is the explanation for that. What is the best way for the HO board to regain trust of homeowners after a know-it-all has moved out of the community and created doubt in some homeowners' minds? Historically, we have avoided complete transparency for being in fear of being attacked every time by that formal homeowner. Tom, I see this a lot where the board stops wanting to provide information because it gets twisted, it gets turned because of know-it-alls. What do you think about this question? What's the best way?
Yeah, well, it's about balance, really. I mean, is there ever 100% transparency? I don't believe so, because there's certain things that the board is dealing with that they can't often speak about. The legal issues and whatnot. They can speak to it to a certain extent, but not 100%. Maybe after matters resolved, through their association attorney, give better information or a more in-depth update on that. But as far as the know-it-all spreading misinformation, I certainly believe that the board should answer back, whether it's at a follow-up meeting or in the association newsletter or using email. Look, we followed up with this. We found out what they were saying was incorrect. They were quoting the wrong statute, whatever the situation was, and get the right information out there.
Isn't that a shame, though? Isn't that a shame that we're in this industry where boards want to be transparent and give people enough information, and it may not be the course of action that is the most advisable for them to work. And I don't want to get sidetracked on particular topics like transparencies and things that we could just be here forever. A lot of comments from the audience. Isn't it a mistake to assume the know-it-all doesn't know what they are talking about? Many do research of law and they do know the facts. Christine, definitely, right?
Yes, they do research and they think they know the facts. I mean, as a community manager, I always encourage board members to check with their experts. I mean, I can't stress that enough. You can read whatever you want out there. It doesn't mean that you know how to interpret it, that you didn't come across a fake website, that you didn't ask the question the right way. I mean, you can't not value the full advice that an expert is going to give you on a topic. I mean, I wouldn't go to my accountant to change the oil in my car. You know, I don't.
Okay, viewer, I was kind of with you, but Christine kind of hedged her bets there. Taylor, at least I think so, Christine, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Taylor, what do you think about this? Is it it's a mistake to assume that a know-it-all doesn't know what they're talking about. Many do research of the law and know the facts. That, Christine's got a point there.
I mean, I think this is a typical like trust but verify scenario. I mean, it's kind of like I mentioned earlier. That's great. Show me your information you have, board. To Christine's point, who's the right person to answer this question? And it's probably like Stacy to make sure we're staying on track.
Okay. So Stacey, I don't want to get sidetracked on a whole topic here. So I'm going to do my routine where I ask you to give us a 30-second answer for a complex issue. What do you say to a board member who goes against the attorney's advice because that board member is a know-it-all?
You just state for the record what your advice is and that you advise them this is the way they should handle it. If they don't, lawyers aren't there to tell you what to do. They give you advice based on the law, based on the facts. These are our suggestions, but nobody tells the board what to do essentially, except for the board. So we give advice and we say, listen, this is what you should do. They go against us. There's nothing we can do. We gave you the advice and you chose to go against it.
This is an interesting comment. Communication is key. I hate the word transparency, but information is power. I wonder if we should do a segment on that, Stacy, about a board giving away too much of its power if it is indeed transparency. We have a board member who puts out incorrect.
I don't know if that's giving away a power, though. I don't think they're giving away power, but I think that they should rely on what their attorneys say to them, and if they need information from these people that are accused of know-it-alls, they can go back and they can consult with their attorney about it.
Oh, I like my topic version a lot better. It's a lot more exciting. People tune in for it. So your answer is probably right, though. We have a board member who puts out incorrect information via social media. What is the best way to counteract this? Before I go back to Stacy, Tom, have you seen this?
I've seen that. I certainly discourage our board members for using or putting information out on social media, especially ones that are not an association sanctioned site. So if they're using someone else's Facebook, forum, that's definitely a no-no. But what I work with our board, we designate someone a media liaison. And typically any information that is put out by the board needs to be approved by the board.
Another good topic, media liaisons. Christine, board member puts out information via social media. They're a know-it-all. Have you seen this?
I have, and I'm a really big advocate for board members not posting anything on social media. Personally, I like social media pages for, fun things, social events, stuff like that, not as an official communication channel for a community, and definitely not for board members to go on there and randomly, put information out without consulting the board and management and, not having it approved.
Taylor, I think I know what Stacy's going to say about this. Do you think you know what Stacy's going to say about this?
I think so. I mean, it's important to remember when you're posting as a board member, you are speaking for the entire board when you do that.
Stacy, they have a board member who puts out incorrect information via social media. First of all, is that right? And what's the best way to counteract it?
Should consider whether that person should remain on the board, number one, because they're clearly not acting in the best interest of the community. They're clearly acting on their own dealing, which is not protected by the business judgment rule, which is what the board should always be thinking whenever they're communicating or making decisions, is that their decisions are based on what is the best interest of the community. And a board member that gets on the board simply to do his create his own platform and get what he wants is not someone that's doing the best for the community. And I definitely think that no one should respond to that statement on social media. And actually should advocate for it to be removed and taken down.
Don't do it. Okay. If you are here for CEUs, I want to do the second check-in so I can get it out of the way, because sometimes I forget to do them, Taylor. I can't help it. If you need CEUs, Taylor, can you tell people to do it? Because sometimes I feel like they don't listen to me and then they don't do it. So can you do it for me?
Sure. So if you need CEUs, right, what's the instruction? Does it pop up or do they just put it in the chat?
They put it in the question feature.
Okay, so you have to use your question feature and let Ray know that you need CEUs.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget to do it. Do it now if you need to.
Don't forget to do it. Don't forget to do it. You need to do it. I need to send this to the governing bodies. They're very powerful, Tom. Very powerful. So they're actually very nice, but I do like to
Not know-it-alls, but they're not know-it-alls.
I do like
Yeah.
to follow their, I like to follow their rules because they do have it hard. Now I got to go back to where I was. All right, let's try to do some of the whys. Why are know-it-alls the way they are? And I'm going to get to the other comments. Well, they're less aware of what they know and what they don't know. They avoid arguing point to point. Like they love arguing actually point to point. Do you agree, Tom, that know-it-alls they love to argue?
Some. I have a couple particular ones recently that don't want to hear the answer. So if they come up to the mic and they start stating certain things the way they should be, and you try to explain to them exactly why, they'll just talk over you, or they'll ignore you and they'll walk away.
So
They just want the backing of the crowd. They want to get the crowd all worked up.
The excitement of the HOA crowd behind them. Yeah, the action is you want to avoid arguing with them point to point. Is anyone on the panel advocate arguing with people point to point? Okay. Well, Stacy, you do if you're getting paid for it in court.
No, but if they're at a meeting and someone raises their hand and poses a question, which actually turns out to be a challenge, there's no point in the board trying to argue with this person, because this person is probably just trying to get the other owners to be like, yeah, that's right. But you just basically shut it down by saying, we will take your points into consideration and consult with our counsel, and we'll make the decision based on what our counsel advises us.
The audience loves it, Stacey. Lots of clapping.
Everybody goes to their attorney. Everybody looks to their attorney.
I know. Everyone just hates paying.
That's why
for
we're here.
it. That's why everybody hates paying for it. That's the only problem. Okay. You should respond with documentation instead of opinions. Taylor, what do you think?
Yes, I would say especially for a board, I mean, you could really get into the semantics of the opinion, and it's probably just less is more, I think, in these situations. Give the homeowner or whoever it is the right documents and where they can find it. That information for themselves is probably the most efficient answer.
Okay. And I'm looking at my notes, audience. I think it's going to be fun. I have a bunch of examples of what makes the worst know-it-alls, it looks like, coming up, whether they're lawyers or not. So I think that'll be fun if we get to it. I hope we do. The next one I had, Christine, was move the debate from ego to authority. What do you think?
What do you exactly mean by that?
I think what this means is, I do these things like 5 weeks previous to this. I think what it's referring to is don't get yourself, or if you're a board member or you're a manager, take your ego out of it and see your role either as an authority or move it on to someone else. I think that's what they're saying. Your actions.
Yeah, I do think that egos play a huge part in these debates. And I hate to say it, but sometimes it's a red flag when you see people doing a ton of talking and not a ton of listening. It's right there, you know what you're dealing with. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. You have to make a motion, come up with a decision, and move on. And not everybody is going to have their opinion chosen every time. So you have to be prepared for that.
Nothing personal, but oh so annoying, right? Somebody had asked me too, why don't I just put more bullet points? Well, the reason I throw the slides out here is I want to see what the panel says. So I don't want well-defined slides. I don't want to dictate the direction of the program that much. I want to give the panelists an opportunity to perceive these as they want to perceive them and offer commentary. And I like that. I think it's worked out well. Tom, our attorney, this is what they're advising to say, a good action move. Tell me if you think this would work. Our attorney has advised that the statute applies this way.
And this is the board's perception.
What they could say to a know-it-all, this is an action they could take to shut a know-it-all down or maybe appease them. I don't know.
Well, I think that's a fine answer. I mean, typically our community meetings, we always have our counsel present. So we usually direct those legal questions to counsel. But
I don't know if it would work. I put the slides on here because it's not my job to censor what goes on here. We're going to go to you in a sec. We'll go to you last, Stacy, because I'm curious to see what. Christine, you think this would work? Our attorney has advised us that this. I think they're going to argue it.
You mean with a homeowner or?
Yeah, there's a homeowner. They're a know-it-all, and they're going on and on and on about the law. And a good thing to say, according to my research, I don't agree with it, is our attorney has advised that the statute applies this way. Do you think it'll work?
Well, maybe a modified version of that, not exactly stating it that way, but again, I think sometimes you just have to, like Stacy said before, shut it down. Here's the answer and that's it, and you have to move on. So, and I do think an expert in the situation, that's less risk for the community. They're signing off on it. So yeah, I think it could be used in a better way to present it. Yes.
How about this way, Taylor? Our attorney, Stacy, who is a know-it-all and knows everything about the law, has advised us that the statute applies this way. Is that better, Taylor?
Yeah, that's perfect. But really, I think the board should come up with what they want the communication to be. I think typically when that happens in a meeting, you probably know there's a good chance this could happen. So I think what you do more is focus on the board has done their job. They've consulted a professional party that's appropriate for this matter and say, the board has taken this to council. We've been advised and made our decisions based on the advisement we've received, rather than debating whether, because that would turn into a debate of, well, you went to this attorney instead of that attorney. You want to avoid that.
So Stacy, I'm serious. Do people really debate you as far as the law goes when they're not attorneys? And how do you feel about this?
Even attorneys that don't do this type of law try to challenge it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on where this debate comes up. If it's at a board meeting and we've never had any information before this that they were going to come up with this issue, the best way, even if your attorney is sitting there saying, we will take this under advisement with our attorney and you can follow up with us, because putting your attorney on the spot is not going to be the best way all the time. Is if this issue is brand new, and if I was sitting there and I certainly wouldn't make anything up. I would simply just postpone it. And a lot of times these know-it-alls, they come to the meetings just to sound off and to sound like they know, and they want their other owners to believe, to side with them. Chances are they may not necessarily follow up with you, and it's not your obligation to follow up with them. So if they're seriously, challenging you, you put it in there, you say to them, listen, this is a new issue. We're going to have to consult with our counsel and, follow up with us in 2 weeks. And if they follow up with you, that's great. I mean, you also want to try to limit the amount of money spending to try to deal with all these know-it-alls. Otherwise, the know-it-all is going to come back in 2 years and say, why did our fees go up so high? And everyone points to them. So that should be something that, just because they're a know-it-all doesn't mean they, you should cater to their every need. They have to be reasonable and realistic.
I love your answer. So basically, I actually kind of learned a new perspective. And now I realize that attorneys have been telling me this all for years and I just don't listen very well. Yeah, don't put the attorney on the spot. Put it on, table it and come back to it and give everybody a chance to regroup and get on the same page. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Be honest, Tom, you knew that already, right?
Yeah, we do it. And most of the time, if the question at the meeting can be answered by the attorney, he will answer it. If otherwise, he'll look into it and then get back to the board.
Everybody on the panel knew it, right? Except for me. Okay, well, there you go. That's why I just asked the questions and follow slides. Okay, we have a homeowner who owns their own Facebook page, calling it the real page for the association and uses it to attack board members. How do we get the Facebook removed? Stacy, if it's okay with you, I don't want to waste too much time on this. Could you do something quick, or you want to just table it for later?
There's a constitutional, right against it. I mean, people are free to say whatever they want. I mean, if they're not board members and they're not saying anything that could, threatening or otherwise, threatening, seriously threatening, not, little empty threats, but they should send them a cease and desist letter to take it down. This is not, the page for the board or anything else, like, not the official page. And you send that letter just to show, look, we don't agree with this. And so it looks like you're taking a step. And if it gets worse, you might actually have to go to the court to get an injunction if it gets to a point where it's out of control. But I've never seen that happen. So
we've done this one before, Stacy. They can also go to Facebook sometimes, and believe it or not, they can sometimes get some action in that regard if it's enough of a outrageous kind of situation. Do you have a problem with the board contacting Facebook? We've done whole entire sessions on it.
Everyone's my AI.
Yeah, but we've done entire sessions on it, and they can do that. I just want to make sure.
What's going to do about it? I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
I'm not here to argue whether it's a good idea
or
or bad idea. All I want you
to
to do, Stacy, is make sure I'm not telling something that their lawyer would advise them not to do. Do you have a problem with a board or manager contacting Facebook about having a page removed?
They could try. And
okay,
I mean, I don't know if it would work, but go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have an answer.
How do you handle a board? How do you handle a board member know-it-all, but not on the committee, that interrupts multiple agenda item discussions during a committee meeting by constantly running up to the podium, blah, blah, blah. Stacy, really quick answer on this. I think it's kind of an easy one for you, right?
And I've never seen it happen, but I guess, you could just ask them to be respectful of the fact that the committee is trying to run their committee and you're not on the committee, and we should allow them to do their job.
No one has the right to disrupt any meeting. Correct, Stacy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our code of ethics have a section regarding social media issues. I had a board member that created a website on their own and put out negative information about the rest of the board members. We did send them a cease and desist. And I'm flicking through a whole bunch of the CEU ones. I brought up the business judgment rule to my board once and got the response, yeah, normally that would apply, but not in this case. We are self-managed and we do things our way. Taylor, what is your reaction to that before we go to Stacy?
I mean, my question would be, and what exactly is your way? I mean, I don't think that will really hold up.
All right. Christine, same commentary as Taylor. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that kind of mentality is a little scary.
Tom, that normally would apply, but not in this case. We are self-managed and we do things our way. Commentary?
I agree with Taylor. What does that mean?
All right. Is this going to work in court? What do you think, Stacy? They do things their way.
The court will review what they did based on the business judgment rule, which always applies to the board's decisions. Not normally, doesn't matter if you're managed by the biggest management company in the world or you're self-managed. The law applies across the board, and it is suggested that if you don't have management, that you consult with your attorney to make sure that what you're doing is proper under the business judgment rule.
People ask me about this. It would be neat if you had handouts about your responses and all that. I don't like to do that because I have the panel here to offer commentary, and I don't want to offer advice that I may have wrong. And everybody believes everything in a handout, so I don't want to put it in a handout. If I say something pretty stupid today, the panel's here to change my opinion. Defer to a professional. I think I even just said that. We have to explain one thing 3 different ways. All right, this boils down to the cats not engaging in sincere communication, ? Sharing one's opinion is great if they're willing to hear contrary opinions. They look to proclaim, explore, build. Yep. I guess I'm paraphrasing this. They're saying that people that are know-it-alls just want to hear themselves speak, I think, for the most part. Anybody on the panel disagree with that? People asking about trademark issues on social media. I'm sorry, I'm going to skip that one. An example of a know-it-all is their proclamations. I pronounced it wrong. Can you pronounce it for me, Stacy?
Proclamation?
Thank you. Thank you. About emotional support animals in New Jersey. They say our governing documents supersede state law. Oh,
No.
boy. Okay. I mean, I think I know the answer on this one. Does anybody in the panel not think they know the answer? All right. So, Stacy, to me, this is a prime example of a know-it-all, but this is dangerous because this could cause a lot of problem for the association because a lot of people are going to believe what people say just based on how they present it. What do you think?
Well, I guess there's a way of, people don't really respond or listen to people who are sounding off and and are loud. And if the board just maintains a civil response and just follows along with the instructions or the advice we gave today, people will look, I believe that people look to the board when they're acting rationally and not fighting back as a board who's probably doing the right thing. So if you maintain that you're not going to be fighting with people because that is obviously not in the best interest of the community, and that you're going to rely on your experts. And I think that most of the owners will look and say, I do believe the board, and I am listen to them because this guy doesn't sound like he really knows what he's talking about. But then again, there are always people that will go along with the know-it-all because they have similar opinions, but they're afraid to speak out. So they figure this is our sounding board. I got to listen to what he says. But just because he's the loudest doesn't mean he's the smartest.
Okay. We didn't even let you answer the question because it's so ridiculous. Stacy.
It is kind of ridiculous.
Do the governing documents supersede state law?
Oh.
No.
No.
This is such a stupid one. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
And state law, I mean, the emotional support animals also could trigger federal law. So, I mean, your governing documents don't supersede federal law either.
All right. So, Tom, tell me if you think this would work with a know-it-all. A know-it-all comes up to you, Tom, and they're at the meeting and you're up there as the manager. And they're just questioning everything. And it's ridiculous. You say, well, Abraham Lincoln once said, it is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Would you do that, Tom?
I definitely would be thinking about saying that. But I would not say that.
You would not? Darn it. Christine, would you do it and wear a big top hat?
No, but I would love to witness that somewhere.
Taylor, I'm going to ask Stacy, it would be acceptable or advisable for a board to put a top hat on and say that quote whenever a know-it-all speaks. Do you think Stacy's going to say that's okay?
I mean, I don't think so.
Stacy, is this a good way, saying quotes from Abraham Lincoln wearing top hats whenever a know-it-all speaks? Can a board do it?
Oh, I think they should dress as George Washington. That's why I say no.
I was really hung up on the top hat, honestly.
To be clear though, Stacy, so there's no misunderstandings though. I guess a board could do it, but you wouldn't advise it.
Good, but I don't know how that's going to make them any more convincing than.
I think that would just incite.
Yeah, me too. Okay, some status signals, just to kind of backtrack a little bit. They try to signal intelligence in front of neighbors. Anybody in the panel disagree, speak up. They love long speeches. They overuse legal terms. Christine, have you ever seen know-it-alls overuse legal terms?
Yes, and also repeating and repeating and repeating. And then once they hear the answer, they repeat and repeat again the same thing.
Okay. I'd like to ask the panel, not right now because it's hard on the spot, but what is the most overused legal term you hear know-it-alls say? Stacy will know. Taylor, do you agree that a lot of know-it-alls overuse? Taylor, do you agree that a lot of, you do agree? Sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Tom, do you have an overused legal term before Stacy can't wait. She's all excited.
I'd say transparency is the one that's used often in my meetings.
I'm going to guess, Stacy, that it's, you're violating my constitutional rights, but go ahead, Stacy. What do you have?
Oh, everyone thinks that they can that everything's a violation. Oh, what's another one? Discrimination is a big one that everybody uses. Fiduciary duty. I mean, like, people throw out these big words without actually knowing what exactly it involves. I mean, everyone thinks they know what discrimination is, but they don't use it correctly. I mean, you know it on the surface what it is, but it's not a across the board kind of thing. You have to ask the facts.
They love quoting statutes out of context. Stacy, same thing. They think.
Well, they're not going to quote statutes. They're going to quote statutes, and yes, they will.
Thank you. That's why I would never do it.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't even use the terminology right.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know about non-lawyers quoting statutes. I don't even know about non-condo lawyers quoting certain statutes that they really, because I mean, like, I don't do criminal law. I don't consider myself an expert on criminal law, and I wouldn't be citing statutes if I didn't know exactly how they apply to the particular facts at hand.
I love it. The audience sent me, they got all excited too. They sent me in a bunch of stuff. Homeowners like to say, I pay your salary to managers. I'm entitled to those documents. That's a common theme throughout. And then a bunch of stuff about pets for some reason. There's few public forums where residents can gain social recognition and influence. I think this is why HOAs are a breeding ground for know-it-alls. Tom, do you agree with me?
I don't know. We have a lot of public forums in my community, way too many. But the biggest problem is now with social media, the independent social media websites that people are just going and attracting not only the members within the community, but it's affecting new ownership because people outside the community are seeing what's going on social media, and then it's impacting negatively for that community.
So here are some actions that people could take. Panel, I'm interested to see what you think about it. Christine, give them brief acknowledgement so that they feel heard and then move on.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a great tactic to do. Another, thing that you can do is if you're having a session where a homeowner comes and speaks in front of the board, nobody say anything. Give this person like a full 5 minutes to just talk up a storm, tell every little detail, just sit there and listen to that person the whole entire time, because 5 minutes is, believe it or not, a very long time for somebody to talk. So yeah, I think that giving that person their moment is a great tool.
Christine, I love your comment because I always say that. Let someone just go on and on and on and on, and they're going to lose their audience. Like, let them self-sabotage themselves. I don't think we talk about that enough and hear that enough. Taylor, a lot of people won't agree with that, but do you agree with this? And what do you think about, do they deserve some acknowledgement? Why don't you just run with it?
I mean, I think the best way I've seen it handled is kind of like Christine says, give them their time. I mean, don't let them go over, because you could be there all night, and then just say, we've heard you. The board's going to discuss it and follow up with you, or whatever the board agrees to in response to that after. But it's definitely not the time to start arguing with them there.
Tom, I'm curious, what do you think? Just letting somebody go on and on and on until like they almost turn off their own little following.
Well, you certainly have to acknowledge that what they said. But we set time limits, so you can't go on and on and on. We put 3 minutes, and if you go beyond that, we actually have a device that we can hit that kills the mic. So if it becomes disruptive, then we could suspend the meeting, but we don't let them go on and on and on.
Is it like a water balloon or something?
It's just a red kill switch. We keep it on the dais, and the board president can hit the button. button whenever.
Sounds scary. Red kill switch. Okay. Stacy, what do you think about this? Give
The kill
acknowledgement.
switch, I would do a, yeah, no, I would do the trap door, have them come up to the microphone, and when their time is up, they just go down.
That's
I
perfect.
think that time limits are key. That, you know, you have a Q&A section of your meetings. You say, we're limiting everything to 3 minutes. And if you don't have time to finish your, you know, your statement, you can see us at another time. You know, sometimes it's better to let them ramble off on some sort of papers, because then you can hold that against them in court. But that's just me being a lawyer. But I would, you know, you just, like I said before, you just say, thank you for we'll take that under advisement. We'll consult with our counsel and get back to us, and we'll get back to you. You know, you have to acknowledge them. They're still a member of the community. I mean, you can't just say to them, you know, you sound like someone who's just a troublemaker and we're not interested. They're part of your community. But the other thing is that they have the right also. I mean, I haven't seen one document in 26 years that doesn't show a right to petition for a special meeting if you think there's an issue that needs to be addressed. But again, people don't go through all those, you know, those hurdles to get that special meeting, because it's annoying. You got to go around and get a petition, and you probably, you know, those people kind of lose steam after a while. So I think, yeah, I think you have to you have to respond to them, but, you know, keep them at calm level.
Okay. So here's an example, audience, and I'll ask the panel. The know-it-all comes up. You clearly spent time looking into that, Joe. Let's have counsel review that interpretation and report back. Maybe you could say your interpretation, Joe, and report back. Taylor, what do you think about this response?
Oh, I mean, I think it's fine. I would probably be mindful of the tone of delivery of that, but otherwise, I mean, I think it's okay.
Well, I'm adding my tone to it. You could say it a lot nicer ways. Christine.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, respectful, polite, and it's going with procedures, because that's what we're supposed to do is, you know, take in the complaints, or, you know, take in the ideas, and then, you know, think about it, discuss it, consult the experts, and get back to the person.
How's this sound, Tom? Tom, you clearly spent time looking into this. Let's have counsel review what you have found out, and we'll report back to you.
No, I'm fine with that. If they had any particular documentation they brought with the meeting, I would request that as well, so counsel can review.
Would you be fine with my first version?
I like this current version.
All right. Stacy, you have any issue with this? What do you think of it?
I would say yes. Yes, I do. First of all, when you come from the Northeast, it's very hard not to sound sarcastic saying that, because when you said it, it's very hard. Maybe in South Carolina, it's a little different, but I think what you need to say, it would a little easier, saying, we really appreciate you looking into this, because then you're kind of stroking the ego that they want stroked to begin with. You know, we appreciate that you looked into this. You know what? We're going to have our counsel review it, and we'll get back to you.
You know what I realized?
Sound sarcastic, because, you know, coming from me, it sounded like this.
You know what I realized, though, that we're making it every know-it-all is a bad person. There's plenty of know-it-alls out there that really,
right.
they don't have any ill intent towards the board or the association in any manner. I think we should acknowledge that, right, Stacey? There's plenty of know-it-alls that are not problematic. It's just a lot easier to concentrate on the ones that are. What do you think?
I think everyone's really considered a know-it-most, not know-it-all. I mean, you know, there are plenty of people that feel, you know, especially like people that are retired and are on the board and have been in accounting for 25 years or been in property management in 25 years, but they do rent. Like, everybody does something that gives them, you know, some clout and to say that, oh, I know a lot about this. I mean, listen, when I retire, I'm sure people are going to ask me a lot of questions, and I kind of am a know-it-all in this capacity, but I'm not going to ever act like that. So I feel that the people that are acting like that really don't quite know it all, but they're not necessarily trying to attack the community. And I think there's a mutual respect that needs to be shown on all accounts until you start seeing that this person is clearly a troublemaker. I mean, you should still be civil, but you should definitely listen to your lawyer and keep your conversations and involvement to a minimum, because these people are clearly either secretly recording you or going to misconstrue how you are responding to them. So I would take the position that everyone knows most, not all, and treat them like they do know what they're talking about, but you still want to confirm it with your attorney who actually knows the law.
By far the worst know-it-alls are the volunteers. They second guess at the last minute and overcomplicate the work of management. They don't read management emails and wait for board meetings to contribute their thoughts. Don't some bylaws supersede state law when those state laws refer to the bylaw if different? Stacy.
No, I still think if you're silent on something, and the law requires something, you can't just not do it because your bylaws say you don't have to do it, or apps silent. You should always refer to the law above to see if there's anything conflicting with your documents.
My favorite catchphrase is duly noted. Tom, you're laughing. What are they referring to? Who would be saying that? The board says that? I guess it's
Sounds like that would be coming from the board, but I wouldn't say that.
duly noted, Joe. Yeah, so negative. Okay, Taylor, can you say it nicely? Because you're such a nice person.
I honestly, I don't know if I could say that one nicely.
Okay. You're nice to even consider it. All right. South Carolina transplants are from New Jersey. They're just trying to help, as annoying as they are sometimes. Yep. What if a know-it-all is a board member? We have been talking about board members. We have a board president that says that all the time. My favorite phrase to respond is okay. Oh, is okay short enough for you from a legal aspect? Well, maybe not, right, Stacey?
I mean, I don't even know what we're responding to now, but
Okay.
no, you should just, yeah.
I know. I feel like
No,
okay
it's
could be
fine.
like a positive acknowledgement. Speak only if it improves upon the silence. Taylor, that's from, you probably knew that from Gandhi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Are you going to use it later today?
I don't know if I'll use it. I might think it to myself, but
All right, let's give you another chance, Taylor. Let's see if we can do this one a little bit smoother. Go ahead.
all right. So last reminder, if you need CEUs, please use the question feature and report in that you need your CEUs.
And then I like to leave it on there for another 10 seconds. Can you fill up the time with something?
Can I fill up the time?
Yeah, just say anything for 10 seconds. So it's up there.
Time is now. Complete your CEU for.
All right. Well, thank you.
silly.
Thank you so much. Yep, you need to do this. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. We have a know-it-all that tries to use their facts to sway others. But if, as board president, they say, that's interesting, please give us the details and tell us how that would work. The more they talk, the more neighbors they lose. Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying earlier. Okay. Control anxiety. Experts are anxious about losing control over their community. Property values, rules, amenities, fees. These are things that know-it-alls get upset about. Uncertainty about these things that create stress. Try to control it by mastering it. This is all reasons that people become know-it-alls. Provide transparency. Okay, so your action, this is why people become know-it-alls. So let me go to you, Tom. Do you agree that these could be some issues? Are know-it-alls created, Tom? Or are they born that way?
No, I think they've been that way a long time.
Okay. Christine, what do you think? Are know-it-alls created or are they born that way in the HOA world?
I think it's a dominating type of personality trait. And, I think sometimes, people that have that kind of a personality just need to remind themselves to, tone it down a little bit. Cause, they could be a good know-it-all, with a lot to offer, but you got to let other people speak and you got to be open-minded to still learning things yourself.
Taylor, I kind of agree with this. I think a lot of people become know-it-alls if they're working, if they live within a very dysfunctional community, they start to get anxious. They see it, they have uncertainty, and all of a sudden, I think they develop into a know-it-all. I don't know if I agree they're born that way, but Taylor, what do you think?
Well, I think people who tend to be that way have a lot of drive in themselves. So I do think it's personality based, but I do agree that there could be a triggering event that motivates them to really speak out. I mean,
I'm going to fly through some of these. Why? The uncertainty about things. We just went over that. You could provide transparency, you could provide timelines, and you can offer clear expectations to help these people out a little bit. The more predictable things feel, the less they feel the need to dominate conversations. The more predictable things feel. People don't like to think. If one thinks, one must reach conclusions. Conclusions are not always pleasant. I like my quotes. So maybe this will be a new thing. Identity protection. Their identity being around the smart one in the room. They'll resist all information. This is more negative stuff about know-it-alls. We've already covered it a lot. Actions. Avoid public correction whenever possible. Taylor, what do you think? You think this is a good advice in regard to know-it-alls? Don't contradict them in public.
I would say most times, yes. I mean, you want to de-escalate a meeting scenario. So I would say most times, yes. I think if they're saying things that are like really blatant, just an example, like we have no money in our reserve account and the association has, significant funds, I probably would correct that for the record, but I don't think you should challenge them really.
Okay, so retirees came up in my research. I want to kind of acknowledge them. I think sometimes they get accused of being know-it-alls. Their professional authority, I want you to understand what they're going through. Their professional authority no longer formally applies. They get compensated by that by asserting themselves in HOA governance. You should give them a structured way to communicate. Look, retirees are a big part of our industry. There are a lot of people that have time to be involved in HOAs. Tom, I'm glad you're agreeing with me because I felt like you were disagreeing with me today on everything. So committees, research tasks, advisory roles. When people feel useful, they often stop trying to dominate meetings. Okay, I want to go to closing thoughts, give you guys plenty of time. And I am going to start with Tom. Tom, what do you think about know-it-alls? What didn't we cover? I hope we gave people some options.
Well, I think we covered quite a bit. Going back to just my opening statement with the defining know-it-alls, there are individuals that do know quite a bit, and they can offer a lot to the community in a positive way. They bring that information, and trying to get them involved is key. Get them on a committee, and once they're involved and they see how things are operating, I think you're less likely to see them taking on a negative role at the community meetings.
Know-it-alls become worse when they move into an HOA. I had to get to that one. I thought it was a good one. Christine, closing thoughts. Any general advice, something we didn't touch upon?
Yeah, I just want to say as a reminder to everybody that this industry changes constantly. So what you know today, it may be all out the window tomorrow. So, you always got to keep that in mind when you think you're a know-it-all or you're listening to a know-it-all, that's why you have to fact check.
Christine, it's so hard for me to know anything nowadays. Now I feel upset. What I know today is not going to be any good tomorrow. That's not very, that doesn't make me feel.
Not in this industry.
All right. Stacy, I'm going to let Taylor go last because I interrupted Taylor one time a couple of years ago. It was so rudely done that I just have to make up every time I see her. But go ahead. Go ahead, Stacy. We can't hear you. We still can't hear you. Oh, looks like your mic went out at the very last minute. Okay. All right. With that being said, Taylor, words of wisdom, 60 seconds, uninterrupted.
It's okay. And I forgive you for interrupting me, right? But I would say when you're dealing with people like this in a meeting, really make the goal de-escalating, listen to them, follow up. If you say you will follow up with them. And I'm glad you brought it up at the end there is the action. I mean, if you get this person on a committee where they can be successful and productive for the association, that usually has a very good result for everybody.
Excellent way to wrap up. Stacy, one last chance. Are you there? We lost you. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you're in New York, see us at Ruth Chris tomorrow. We have a full house at Ruth Chris. Christine will be there and Stacy will be there. So it should be a good time in New York. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, panel.